Welcome back to Ta-da 3D printing. So after running the sheep on the MMU3 with the MK4, I was ready to run another print, but I was not super excited about swapping out the filament. For some reason, after putting this whole thing together and dealing with getting it calibrated and set up, I just was hesitating, procrastinating, dealing with the filament. Mainly because of this buffer. I just get sick of loading it into that. So really the filament runs not just from the extruder up to the MMU, then it runs from the back of the MMU into the buffer, flips around in the buffer, and then runs into the spool holders. And the whole process just seems very clunky and irritating to me. So I decided to remove the buffer and all the tubes. I set it up to just have the filament holders right behind the machine. This is a deep table, so I wanted to see if I could run it like this. But no surprise, quickly I have multiple errors. It kept saying that the fender didn't trigger, and then after a little while of trying this multiple times and kind of adjusting it, my wood filament actually started to just continue to fall out. These don't have a lot of filament left on the rolls, and for whatever reason the wood, especially here, it just completely popped out. It's too round, too curly, too springy. It just pulled itself out after it had done a color change. You can see here that it's just sitting a little ways away. So I tried to adjust it again, get it cleaned up again, but of course I just kept having issues with things curling back. I found some short tubes and put those into the back of the MMU3 and tried to run it like that, but of course I had issues again. So I decided to put the buffer back and just run some shorter cables from the spool holders to the buffer to see if it'd be a little easier to run it like that, a little easier to load. And at this point I'm regretting doing anything, because whatever time I would have wasted changing out the filament, I've wasted way more time by trying different setups and them not working, failing, and having all of these errors. And I continue to have errors, so I decided I'm just going to put it back to stock, back to exactly the tubes that it came with, that it has run on before, and see how that goes. But then as I'm loading the filament back in, I start having issues. I wish that on the screens of unloading and loading to the buffer that there was a cancel, because I needed to click reset, and then I had a blue screen when it adjusted. And I reset this multiple times, and every time it loaded again, I was getting the blue screen again. I turned it off and turned it on. I turned it off and left it off for a while, and I was continuing to get the blue screen over and over again. The only thing that finally helped was when I had turned it off, I moved the selector on the MMU3 and turned it on again, and it started working. So at this point I had everything loaded so I could run it normal. And this time it runs without any errors. So this is definitely a lot trickier on the MK4 to adjust the buffer setup. I had removed the buffer on my MK3 and it worked okay. I did have errors occasionally, but not nearly like this. So I really need to come up with a different setup. I'm thinking the auto rewind spools or something else. I really want to get rid of the buffer, but let me know your thoughts. I've already gotten a few suggestions from you guys, so I'll be trying some things soon. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.